Hi guys, welcome to another video of Nu-Trix the Synth Guy, and today we're going to explore together the Pittsburgh Modular Lifeform SV-1b. It's part of the Black Box series. This is the B version. That was the SV-1 that was there originally, and between the two, not a lot have changed. Most of it is the same thing. Some knobs or buttons are moved a little bit. Some movement of the knobs are being tweaked. But when we look at what Pittsburgh Modular are saying about the differences between the two, is that mostly it is 98% the same hardware. Mostly they tweaked it a little bit to change a tiny bit better. I'm not going to say better because the original is already really good sounding. And the way these knobs here, buttons reacts have been changed a little bit. But mostly it's the same thing. You might not know Pittsburgh Modular. You should if you like any type of analog sounding cool synthesizer. You might be interested into modular synthesis with Eurorack, but you might be scared of buying, different module, not being sure how they would work together or if it would even give you a full synth to work with. Now, this Lifeform SV-1b is really interesting for many reasons. One, it is a Eurorack compatible unit. You can actually unscrew the faceplate. It's actually in a metal box. So you keep the box and the front you take out and you put into a modular rack mount and it becomes a Eurorack system. By itself, it's I would say a desktop unit. It has its own electrical power. It works well. It sounds really good. We'll do a test after. I'll basically do a sound with you and I'll show you how I make a sound out of it because it sounds really analog. Of course, the filter is very nice. So it's like buying in one shot, buying like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 modules. That's a little bit what it feels like. But these modules, they're already interconnected inside the machine. So even if you patch nothing, this behaves like a Moog synthesizer, if you want to compare it to that. Because you would have 2 oscillators, many different output possible. You can mix them together, and from the mixer you go into a filter. That sounds really cool. There's many output of the filter, meaning there's a low pass, there's a band pass, and there's the high pass out. You could actually take these and combine them also, or send them to different sources or destinations. So again, the modular aspect of this is really powerful. You have only one envelope, ADSR. You have one LFO, but you also have digital LFOs over here. So there's this extra stuff here. And these would be, if I'm not mistaken, they will be locked to tempo or Midi clock. And there's a Midi input here. Using a cable like this, you have, something like that. You can actually have this, and you would run this as a MIDI controllable modules. Let's actually stop talking about it and try this. So we'll do a sound together and I'll patch it so I can give you ideas of how you could approach it. Let's dive in. So this is the look of what the Pittsburgh Modular Synthesizer Model Lifeform SV-1b looks like. You have the first module here. It's the Midi CV converter. Again, if you Midi would connect here, you would have the pitch gate, control modulation, velocity, and LFO output to the rest. There's an arpeggiator here. You can switch between mono. There's different type of mono, meaning who has the priority of the note, the low note, the latest note, and all that stuff. So I'll do another video just to talk about this if there's enough people asking for this in the in the comments. But this is by itself a whole module you have to learn. You have the oscillator 1, which is a little bit different than oscillator 2. Basically, the two have, the frequency, of course. You get the fine tune. 2 of them have them. You have the frequency modulation. There's a FM CV coming in. There's a width controller, so the width CV coming in. Which is bizarre or surprising, is you don't have a dedicated width control. There's only the modulation of the width. So you can modulate the width, but you cannot just say where it is in a fixed value. So it's a decision by itself, but it's not something we see often. And then you've got the sync, the blade, the pulse. These are different outputs. The sync is, I mean, you want to sync it with the other one to create that sync sound. A sine, triangular, saw, pulse, and blade. These are different outputs that, if you understand correctly, all of them are being generated at the same time. So if you would have a big mixer outside, you would be able to combine all of these into one single sound outside of this, because in here you've got 4 input for the mixer, and we've got 2 synth, 2 oscillators. So you have not enough input for the amount of outputs you have. And here you have 5, and here 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just too much. So it's a question of pick and choose, basically. So let's actually, if we want to hear it, I patched the output of my Arturia BeatStep Pro CV and gate. So the CV goes into here, into a splitter, because this is a signal splitter. You got 1 in, 2 out. Same thing here, 1 in, 2 out. So I'm going to split the pitch information to control the 2 oscillators. Okay, and I've got the gate coming in to trigger the envelope. Okay, and then you get the filter right away. Because if you look the way it's soaked up, you see this is the pitch, and it's written pitch because this is the normal connection. I mean, it would come in from the pitch here, right into here, if I didn't patch anything in. From CV mod, so it comes from, in this case, modulation. There's the mod. This one, with CV, it comes from the mod also. This one here, from FM CV, comes from oscillator 2. So oscillator 2 by default is patched into the frequency modulation of the first one. If I play this, I bring this up. So really cool for that sound of you know, FM sound. Same thing with the width. Now I don't hear the width here when I play this, because what I'm listening to is sine. Because if you follow the signal, you've got channel 1 of the mixer, which is sine from the 1. So this sine 1 here is a sine here. Saw 1, pulse 1, and sub -1. So it's 1 octave lower. If I want to hear them, I just bring the volume up. So that's the raw sound of the 4 being mixed together. Again, if I bring them down, and if you want to hear the pulse width, then you need to bring the pulse up. So let's just bring the pulse, turn the other one down, bring the pulse in. And the speed of the modulation, it comes from the modulation here. Can be very fast. Same thing here. If I want to hear the oscillator 2, I need to patch something. So I can say, I want to hear the pulse here, send it to, I don't know, instead of the sine wave. This one here, and this one doesn't work anymore. And if I want to have the FM on this one, comes from this one. If I go really fast, it almost becomes an normal oscillator. But if you go softer, drunk playing. Or vibrato that is not perfect. Okay, so this is how you combine them together. What's interesting here is you also have subs. Of course, you have already this one here with sub -1 here, but you can have sub here, you can assign something else, the output, sub -2, so a lower sub if you want to. You got the noise generator, got sample and hold, and the output of the sample and hold here. And the hold here can be controlled by Midi by default. Then the output of these two, the mix goes into the mix of 3 and 4, and then the output of that is set into the mixer in here. But remember that these can also mix CV, not just sound. So you could use this to combine two information. I'll do that after. I'm just going to finish the tour and then I'll show you. So here you've got the big knob for the filter, you have the resonance. Very cool sounding, resonant. Right now, by default, it's the low pass we have. You have the frequency here, CV, so you can control the frequency of this. By default, this is the you do it to your liking, but I mean, you understand that now this envelope is assigned by the frequency by default. You see under it, see ADSR, it's assigned to the frequency control of the cutoff point. And this also is by default the amplitude envelope. So it runs the two right now. Let's do something different. I want to take this, I want to create some sound with it. I'm gonna still have the sine wave here, sine wave. Actually, no, I'm going to take the pulse, put it in the second one here. I'm going to take, so I've got a still here. But I want to have the also the pulse from the first one. Here we go. Get this really cool sounding. Very alive, alive, a lot of movement. So this is the first one, and this is the pulse from the second one here. And I'm going to send this right into the mixer. I'm going to take this out, goes into the mixer out, goes into mixer in. Well, actually not mixer in, but the filter in. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take this. I'm going to play sequence so I can have my two hands. So I've got this sequence playing. I'm going to take some movement here. But now what I would like to have is also, because right now what I have is the envelope controlling the cutoff point, but I would like the cutoff point to move up and down a little bit with the LFO at the same time. So I'm going to have to combine, because there's no two input here, here to control. I'm going to take the output of the mixer. Actually, I'm going to go the other way around. I'm going to take the triangular sine wave, triangular waveform of the LFO, this, bring a little bit of the movement, and actually it should be going here. I'm going to take the output of the amplitude, the output of the ADSR, send it into mixer 3. You get mixer 3, mixer 4, which is the output of the LFO. The mix of the two will go into the frequency control here. So if I play it now, I've got some movement, the amplitude. So this is just this here. Okay, so I've got a separate control over amplitude and filter now, which is interesting. And then the amplitude now is generally triggered by the gate on-off. I'm going to bring in, you're going to hear this. Hear the movement here you have on top of that. Too much. And then the cool thing is the width of the FM. That's the Pittsburgh Modular Lifeform SV-1b, which is a cool monophonic synth, fully analog. It's like buying 7 modules of Eurorack into one single unit. It works by itself if you just patch in either CV in or Midi in to use as a really cool monophonic analog synthesizer, or you can really use all of these as separate modules that don't talk to each other. They're just part of a bigger build, and it's really, really efficient. That's it. If you like what I'm doing, thumb up, share it with your friends, subscribe. Don't forget to click on notification bell so you get more information when I release some stuff. If you want to know more about what I do, go check my website, Nu-Trix.com. That's it. See you soon, guys.